Ladies and gentlemen, we are live! Hello all and welcome back to the Savage World Summer Showcase. My name is always Mr. Helen Guthrie. I am here once again with my lovely wife, Mrs. Joe Guthrie. How you doing tonight, Joe?
I'm doing super well.
Yeah, you are. We are so proud to be hosting this every week this summer. We are doing a Savage World Summer Showcase. If you haven't seen any of the others, that's okay. You don't need to understand what's going on tonight. We bring on creatives from the Savage Worlds community that are associated in a plethora of ways where they get to talk about the projects they've worked on, the projects they're working on, what's coming next. And tonight is no different than that. You can tune into any one of these in any order. Tonight, we are so happy to bring Chris, David, and Carl to you, the audience. I think it's going to be a really interesting deep dive into these creative minds. But to start off, real brief, let's go through everybody. You can just tell us who you are and sort of what you're representing. Chris, let's start off with you.
Hi, I'm Chris Warner. I'm one of the founding members of Doghouse Rules. Carl and myself are the current partners, and we've been publishing role-playing game products for going on 20 years now. We started out doing traditional Westerns, but we've done a lot of other stuff, and we do it mostly for fun, but that's why we're here tonight.
Hells yeah. Awesome. David Anderson Jr., why don't you give us a little bit of the same?
Thank you very much, Harlan. My name's David Anderson Jr. I'm really just a hobbyist that's kind of dipping my toe into getting published and doing stuff with Doghouse Rules. To be honest, Camp Terror is my first kind of big project, and it's my first project with them, so I'm excited to let people know what it is.
Hells yeah. We're excited to talk a lot about it. It sounds like a fantastic project. And finally, last but nowhere near least, Carl, give us a little bit about you.
Hey, thanks for having us. So I'm Carl Kiesler, and as Chris said, I'm part of Doghouse Rules for about 20 years now. We're known for our Western stuff, D20 and Savage Worlds, and also Trailer Park Shark Attack. And we just completed our first Kickstarter called Dust Bunnies: Life Under the Couch. And I do a lot of freelance stuff for Pinnacle. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you all for joining us. I'm really excited. I know, David, you're going to want to talk a lot about this project that we're excited about, the one that's coming up, this gory bloodfest. But before we get to that, because we sort of have a nice little natural bookend here. We have Doghouse Rules, and then you, the extraordinaire, in the center. Chris, why don't we start off with you? Let's talk about a little bit of the origins of Doghouse Rules, sort of what started the whole thing, what got you two inspired to start something.
Sure. Well, actually, like I said, it was Carl and I and three other guys. Jeff Spakes was one of the original founders. He's the one that got us all together. He had published a game called Sidewinder Wild West Adventures way back in late 1990s, early 2000s. And then he got the rights back, and he wanted to do a D20 modern version of that Western game. And he recruited Carl and me and a couple other guys to get together and put that product out, which we did. That was our first product released in 2004. And so what we like to say is we were five role-playing game enthusiasts who wanted to bring the Wild West back to the table, and that's what we did. So
I mean, it also won an Emmy, did it not?
it did. Best electronic product, which is interesting what that meant in
Yeah.
2004.
I would say then you succeeded at bringing it back, because, that is not only a tangible, carry on with that, but it's something that you can be proud of presenting and saying, this is what, we did. We know what we're doing.
Absolutely. It was fun, too. We had a great time. A labor of love, I think we often call it.
The theme of Westerns is such a deep well, especially for America, I suppose. In Canada, less so. Why do you think the audience, are so interested in coming back to the well over and over again, playing games with a theme that you guys are obviously using to your advantage, writing more about?
Well, that's an excellent question.
Yeah, what makes that fascinating for you as designers?
Well, as a designer, that there's a rich mind to mine there, I suppose. Like you say, the Western is such a big part of American culture, and there's many movies and books and other stories that you can draw from and think about. And the westerns were huge in the film industry. 1950s, 1960s, kind of went away a little bit, but then came back again. And there's been some recent ones. That's somebody there put up one of our recent Hive is Alive as one of our traditional westerns that we did for Savage Worlds. That was published this year. So Night of the Grizz, that's another one. So there's so much there to draw on, and it's really not that hard to think up stuff. What's hard is giving it a fresh angle and doing something a little bit new, not brand new, but a little bit different that people would have fun playing. So
something that feels refreshing, something that when you step into it, you're not just playing the same tired beats that may happen, over and over again.
That's right.
And I think that there's sort of an art to that when you take such a finite, well, I shouldn't say finite in a demeaning way, but like when you have a setting that is as it is, trying to find ways to freshen that up in a clever way must be difficult. Is there a particular way that you've found that maybe you blend something, you take a little bit of the thieviness of this movie set in the 60s and kind of redate it? Or do you always find yourself coming to those tropes and just trying to find different ways to sort of tell them?
I mean, for me, it's sort of the latter. We look at the tropes and we're trying to find a new way to tell it. Carl's good with the Weird West. That Night of the Grizz is a Weird Western. So we dabble in both traditional and Weird West stuff. And so the weird twist, I would let Carl continue on that.
Yeah, I want to hear all about that.
Yeah, the weird twist is fun to do, and that's taking the trope in a slightly different direction.
Before we jump over to Carl, I have to ask, between you and Carl, assuming when you're sitting around the table playing, which one is the DM?
Well, we don't get to sit around the table all that much.
Oh no!
It's usually Carl, but both of us do GM. In fact, we've play tested with each other and other people. David was in a play test that I did for The Hive is Alive, and both David and I played in Night of the Grizz that Carl ran for us when he was here in Tampa.
Well, the main reason I ask is because your voice alone, Chris, harkens on the Wild West. You got this grizzled kind of
little gravelly voice. Yeah.
gravelly voice.
Got the
Just
dust
kinda
of the road in it.
Yeah. Anything you're going to narrate me into a scene is going to immediately say, "Oh yeah, I'm in the Wild West."
But it's a good PC voice too.
Yeah, it is. Carl, I mean, continuing on that Weird West sort of talk, I mean, it does feel like it's a natural bridge over. Can you elaborate a little bit on that and where your sort of strength in telling that kind of story may come
First
from?
off, what is it for those of us who
Yeah.
are unaware?
Well, the Weird West, Deadlands for Savage Worlds, everybody knows Deadlands is Weird Western, but it's basically taking like horror elements and mixing it up with classic Western elements. So I'm a big horror movie fan. So to me, it goes hand in hand. And when I saw Deadlands for the first time, way back when they had the Orange books, I was hooked. I was like, oh my gosh, where is this? This is awesome. It takes two of my favorite genres. I love Westerns and I love horror, and let's just mash them up together. So my mind automatically has been going that way ever since. And so Chris takes the lead on most of the traditional stuff that we do. And then I'll add in, hey, what if this Western twist, this is cool. Or I'll start out with a Weird West, this weirdness. And he'll say, how about this as changing it to traditional? Night of the Grizz was perfect example. When I wrote that, I was like, okay, I want a zombie grizzly bear in this game just because it's cool. And so I photoshopped all that stuff, and I was like, this is awesome. And Chris and I ran it just as with zombie grizzly bear, and it was really cool. And when we wanted to make a product, Chris was like, how about making a traditional Western? And instead of there's a zombie, maybe there's just a bunch of bears in there. And then there's some other things I don't want to give away, but just take away of that part, but it's not the main focus. There's something else that you would call.
Right. We offer an alternative. We've done that in the last couple of products. So if it's designed as a Weird West, there's an alternative way to play it in the traditional and vice versa.
Right.
More boring for those who aren't willing to push the boundaries of it.
Do you? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do you employ the standard zombie rules with zombie bears? Cut off its head and incapacitate it, or are there special
Do you have to go
rules
full
for
Revenant
zombie
where
bears?
You eat it.
Well, for this one, there was different rules because it was like a one-off. But if I was running zombie bears in my home game, it'd probably be traditional. Yeah, you got to hit it in the head and destroy the body, destroy the head, and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we do take the Savage World zombie stuff and combine that with our own ideas. So
Yeah.
It's a sort of a mishmash.
Now, it's interesting when you're showing that cover, is one of the taglines that you have there is a convention-style adventure. And now most of us, especially in the biz, kind of recognize what that might mean. For those who might look at that in the store and not really understand exactly what that, encompasses, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
So I run a lot of convention games.
Carl's famous for that. Don't let him downplay himself.
Carl is the world's greatest convention GM.
Really?
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. You'll hear everybody say, "I'm good. I'm just no Carl Kiesler."
Yeah.
That's
What
the
do you
thing they
do
say at
to-
conventions?
How do you earn that accolade?
Yeah. You slip everyone a 20?
Yeah, exactly. I pay him off just like David and Chris here.
He doesn't want to toot his own horn, but
No, he doesn't.
he does the whole 3D thing. He brings a 3D set with him, and
Wow.
and it's beautiful stuff. Maybe we can dig up a photo or two.
When
talking.
the first time I met Carl, it was at a small convention here in Tampa. I had no idea who he was. I played in this Kung Cthulhu game, not kidding you, Kung Cthulhu game.
Kung Fu
We get to
Cthulhu.
the end, and he pulls out a 2.5 foot tall Cthulhu, replete with a Kung Fu bandana on his head.
Very good.
In a Kung Fu pose, I was like, this guy's now my best friend. That's it. It's just
That's
over.
awesome.
Yeah, so I bring props and maps and minis and stuff like that. I make fancy character sheets, but I really
Now
get
I
into
can
the.
see you playing yourself down. But,
He definitely
we've
is.
already been sold, but
Yeah.
so
But
what makes this style,
I like to get the players involved in any way possible, and I'm a graphic artist. I have a degree in that, so I use my strengths. This is what I can. This is how I can communicate. If I want to make a character sheet, the game is set in the 70s. I want to make an 8-track. I'll buy 8 tracks and peel off the labor and make a character sheet and put it on that. And now you're playing with an 8-track in front of you. That kind of just gets you in the mood just a little bit more, So.
Yeah.
So when you're writing a convention style adventure, what sort of is different than how you write a normal adventure? What kind of things do you try to incorporate?
So I try to make it 3 to 4 hours, like in my mind, and I actually play test these things out and I run them at cons too. But I try to incorporate a lot of action. I want to start out maybe with some action, or start out right when the character's just getting into the mix of it. Like the Grizz, Night of the Grizz is an example. I didn't want a lot of talking and stuff. I said, okay, there's been some children that have been kidnapped. This guy has taken them. You're on a posse and you're on your way to find them. Let's go. There's no meandering around. I mean, that's good for a home game and stuff like that. I just want to get right into the mix of it. Oh, yeah, that's one of my convention.
That's
That
awesome.
sounds like fun.
Yeah.
You're not going to be in Fan Expo this weekend, are you?
Harlan's a sucker
No.
for like little printed map tiles and stuff.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that looks awesome.
Very cool.
Oh yeah, thank you.
So you're obviously you're conscious of sort of the sitting down at the table. Maybe they're new, maybe they're not. You want to start sort of in media res, get people sort of familiar with.
Rope
it
them in right
quicker.
away.
Exactly.
So when it comes to offering this on a drive-through RPG type scenario, which you do, is there any sort of something that the purchaser would want to know before? Because there's nothing that's different about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's still just a great game that you can play with a pickup, team or whatever.
Of course.
But is there something that you've found that people might, be nervous about touching something like that? Like a convention style game sounds sort of intimidating. Oh, I'm not running any convention. You know what I mean?
Right.
Are there ways that you sort of offset that, off the beginning? Like, this doesn't have to be run at a convention. This obviously has limited play or unlimited play.
Yeah, actually, Chris, I think Chris helped me write some stuff. I think we do have stuff in there, right, Chris, saying that it doesn't have to be convention style. Like, you can just make a one-off or integrate it in your own campaign.
Or stretch
That
it
way.
out. You can integrate
Stretch it out.
You can stretch
I mean,
it out
it's-
to a couple of sessions, but it's designed to be able to be played in like a 4-hour sitting, like
Yeah,
you do at a convention.
Yeah, but if you had a Deadlands campaign going on, you could easily just pick this up and just throw it in. We say that in the book. that's what's cool about convention games are because they're one and done. You have to start at a certain time and you have to end at a certain time because there's another game coming right in.
They're going to kick
at your
you right
table.
out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have to have a start, middle, and end to this story. And so that's perfect, I think, that you can integrate in your own home campaigns without really messing up. Like maybe you got this huge plot point going on. Well, maybe they're off in this one town and someone needs their help. So you go do that thing, and then you can come back to your regular story,
Sort
or
of
you
a
can just
compartmentalized adventure that you can
Sure,
just tack
yeah.
in. Yeah.
It's a good option, I think, if you're like missing one player at the table and you want to run something last minute that's not necessarily going to influence the campaign. You can just kind of take a couple people off to the side and deal with some mutant grizzly bears if you.
How many times did you watch The Edge with Anthony Hopkins to prepare while writing that?
Oh yeah, I have actually watched it a couple times.
I love it. I'm
Yeah.
unironically, I love that movie so much.
Yeah.
It's
There's some
one of
good
my
bear
favorite.
action in that movie.
It's just a cool movie. Anthony
It is.
Hopkins plays like a badass. You
that the
know?
one
You
where he
see
says,
him as like a
"Gonna
crazy
kill the motherfucker"?
killer. What's
Yeah.
that?
Is that the one with the line?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
one with the
Yeah.
line where he's like, "Tonight we're gonna kill the motherfucker." And
That's
it
right.
Just, like, kind of pans into his face. He has played maniacal. He's played very intelligent, but I like seeing him as this like rich and then badass
Anthony?
outdoorsman. So
Yeah,
you haven't
he
seen
was
it?
awesome.
Go watch The Edge.
Yeah,
Alec
it's
Baldwin.
good, great movie.
Great movie. Oh, there we go. 1985. The Sorority.
That's a character sheet I made. So on the other
Oh
side,
wow!
yeah, I bought old cassettes and I sized up the labels.
Holy
and so
shit.
what you don't see on the other side are actual
With the stats and
stats,
stuff.
but they look like liner notes, like you would see in
Wow.
a cassette.
Very
So-
cool.
That's commitment. That's brilliant, though. But you must get joy from seeing the people
Oh, yeah.
geek out, like we literally just did about that. You know, I mean, I
Yeah.
think at the heart of every DM is somebody who loves to please people. You know, or loves to annihilate them. That's kind of the flip coin of it. Either you
That's
love to
David.
Why not
destroy
both?
people, or you love, or a dash of both. David, the
Yes, sir.
freelance extraordinaire. So obviously we now know Carl and Chris sort of and how they fit. Oh wow.
Yeah, it did.
True. So how
Damn
do
it,
you
Carl.
fit into this mix first and foremost, and
So-
then secondly, talk about what we really want to talk about. But
So I guess I fit into it because I'm first and foremost I'm friends with Carl and Chris. That comes before everything else. Is the fact that we're friends. I've been following poor Carl around like a fanboy for years to
Aw.
conventions. I flew out to Denver to be in his games. And Carl, I still remember the game where we were both players in Ron Blessing's game.
That was fantastic.
Greatest convention game ever. Thank you,
Yeah.
Ron. Just
Yeah.
absolutely phenomenal.
That's awesome.
So I've known them for a while. I was going to ChupacabraCon this year to meet Carl, oddly enough, and my buddy Eric Lamoureux, who's in the chat. And I wanted to write a game to impress the two of them. And the genesis of the game literally came down to a conversation with my wife. I was telling her that I wanted to write something really special for this con. And I said I want it to be like Trailer Park Shark Attack because I love Trailer Park Shark Attack. I love funnel adventures. Unlike Night of the Grizz, Camp Terror is not something that you can play over and over again with a group. It's really just a one shot and you're done. But that one time is so much fun. I said I want to do something like that, but I can't directly rip them off. And my wife just looked at me and said, "You love slasher movies, write a slasher movie." And then she went back to eating her lunch. There it is, Camp Turner. So so I started out just being a fanboy of Carl's, a fanboy of Chris. Chris's pedigree in Savage Worlds is as long as your arm too. I mean, there's your Savage Pathfinder guy right there. And when I first met the two of them, I was nothing but a fanboy, and then I found out that they're nice people. And so when I ran Camp Terror for them, I guess they liked it because they kind of came to me and said, we've never done this before, but we might want to publish that. And since I blatantly ripped off Trailer Park Shark Attack. How could I take it anywhere else? It's a total contrivance of TPSA, so it had to go there.
It belongs in the
elevation.
stable.
Yeah,
Sounds
it belongs there. Absolutely. That, and I also had the opportunity to have Carl Kiesler do graphic art for one of my products.
and you said that this sort of main villain image was is part of Carl's design, putting
Right.
it together.
Yeah,
I also
so-
love the VHS.
The stickers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so it is supposed to be an 80s slasher movie in the vein of Friday the 13th, Halloween. Yeah, I saw all those movies. I loved every single one of them. And then when I really thought about it, I realized it doesn't take a lot. I love that. That's my favorite one, Carl. I love the hand like that. That is
Cool,
awesome.
yeah. That's
And
pretty
you
cool.
are one sick puppy. As nice as you are, man, you are damaged. But I realized very quickly that just like everything else that Hollywood pumps out over and over again, there are beats to every mad slasher movie. There's 3 acts, right? There's the exposition act where they're uncovering everything, and they're kind of figuring out the mystery a little bit, getting to know each other. And then there's the second act where they do the 3 things you're never supposed to do in a horror movie. Anybody remember what they are from the
Split
movie
up.
Scream?
Have sex
Have sex.
Right?
Yeah.
Never.
or get naked.
Yeah, never drink alcohol or do drugs.
Yeah.
Never have sex, and never ever ever say "I'll be right back."
Yeah.
So you guys nailed it. And I actually have a setting rule in there for the game where if you do any one of those 3 things, the GM gives you a Benny for it. Because
Nice.
a mad slasher movie doesn't work unless your victims are stupid. So
You gotta play into the
you
genre.
Exactly.
I've run it 3 times now, and the minute I explain that rule to people, it's almost like you're taking a weight off of them, because they're like, I can be as stupid as I've always wanted to be in a role-playing game, and it's going to be great.
I'm great at this. I don't even.
Yeah, look how stupid I really am this whole time. So it's been a journey. It's been a lot of fun. I think, other than running the game and watching players' reactions as I run the game, my second favorite part of this whole journey has been two more things. Working with Chris's edits and his input on the game has been just phenomenal. And it was funny because when we first started it, Chris really didn't know what kind of pedigree I had as a writer or anything. So he approached me very cautiously. He's like, so here are my edits. There's suggestions. I was like, Chris, I'm a professional writer. Don't pull punches. Let's get to the edits.
Lay it down.
Yeah, lay it on me. And I could, in a text, I could actually see Chris go, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
I don't need to deal with his ego. All right. And then the next part was watching the art come in from Carl, just one after another, and you just like.
It must feel so good to sort of see those come to life and sort of crystallize, and you're like, oh yes, this is exactly the vibe, because so much is told in the art about the vibe of what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like
art sells RPGs. Period.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, art. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Can't
And it
tell
also-
1,000 words.
It helps the PCs who come to the table understand what the tone is, the
That's
expectations,
more than anything,
right?
Because so many GMs, I mean, you should always have a conversation about tone. You should always have a conversation about tone. I've always pushed that, whether it be at a convention or at home. And some players, forget to ask, but mostly GMs forget to tell. But having art, if that is forgotten, that's kind of the thing that you see, and immediately you go, okay, I get what world I'm playing in, which makes it more fun for everybody because you're adding to those. moments
Carl's art nails it. Harlan, I don't know if you've got the piece of art where it's just the hand with the billhook machete.
Oh no!
That
I
is
made
one of-
I made an alternate poster.
that is one of
Kind
my
of like how they do
absolute-
in movies. You'll see like 2 different posters and
Sure,
sometimes.
sure.
So I made an alternate poster. I don't know if it's in there.
So to answer John's question, we're still buttoning this thing up. Carl's still doing his thing. I think our hope is to release it early October. Carl, does that sound about right?
Yeah,
because
maybe.
what
I
we
think so.
really want to
Seasonal.
do is we want to hit Halloween.
Yeah, definitely.
If they're
Got
doing
it.
Halloween this year, I'm running it. Period.
Yeah.
And in fact, Harlan, maybe Halloween is where I can get to kill you and Joe.
Hells yeah, let's do it.
All right,
I'd love to
let's
die
do it.
on
Why
Halloween.
not?
If there's
Yeah.
ever a better time to die, I don't want to know it.
Now, with the Trailer Park Shark Attack and with
There it
this
is.
That's awesome.
with the Camp Terror, you've both described them as a funnel adventure. So this is like our meat grinder, right? Do you have like a way of onboarding your players who come to the table to sort of inform them what to expect in a game like this, or do you walk the DMs through that in any way in the module?
Like the worst case scenario where someone hasn't seen that movie.
A
You know what I
final
mean? Where
adventure.
they're like, "What do you mean slasher film?" And you're like,
Well,
"Oh, no."
yeah, Chris, jump in anytime because you really helped. You really helped hone this product. But so when I write a product a lot like Chris does when I read his stuff. I'm having a conversation with the GM in the product, and I always use the sidebars as all right, look, this is what I've encountered when I've run it. So here's some things to keep in mind. And Chris has also been in a couple of my home campaigns. I'm a big proponent of having just adult conversations at the table, being upfront about things, and the product is written exactly the same way. Hey, this is what we're trying to simulate. The other thing that we did with this product is, since it's written in 3 acts, there's 3 sets of setting rules. The setting rules change from act to act to act to simulate the different acts of the mad slasher genre.
Interesting.
So when you hit the second act, your campers, your counselors, actually, because they're not campers, we're not killing kids, we're killing the counselors, of course. Your counselors become really, really fragile in the second act. And then when you figure out the mystery, because just like mad slasher movies, there's a mystery in it, your character toughens up. So you go from pretty much an extra to a wild card once you hit that third act, and you become more durable, and you can, just like in the movies, you can stand up to the mad slasher. A quick anecdote about the twist in it. And there is a twist in it because there's a twist in every mad slasher
You gotta
movie.
have a twist.
Gotta have a twist. I ran it at ChupacabraCon, and I had Jody and Clint Black at the table, and we're playing the game, and I did something that kind of reveals what the twist was. And Clint looked at me and he's like, "Wait, you can't." And then he just went, "Ah," and that's the greatest GM moment you can have when your players go, "Yeah, of course." Chris made the same face when he figured out the twist.
When we were
That's
play
awesome.
testing, and me and another player looked at each other at the same time. We were like, "Oh, we did it!"
That's
So,
exciting, though.
and like David was saying, in the book we have sidebars and such to guide the GM, to think about those things and to be upfront with what's going on, and don't be afraid if your character dies. That's the point of this game.
I mean, we all have seen those movies, or hopefully we've seen those
Yeah,
movies.
so roll with that. Play that the way it's supposed to be played. Just have fun with that. Don't worry about that part.
For
Yeah,
sure.
Chris and I had some conversations about that when we were talking about the product. And I told him I want the product to be a conversation with them, and I want it to be upfront. Here's what we're trying to simulate. Lean into this. And I think the product does. I personally think it does a real good job of it.
So
I
here's a
would be-
question. Here's a question
Yeah.
for just to clarify for those who might be new to the term: a mad slasher funnel adventure. For those uninitiated, what is a funnel adventure?
The
So,
best
yeah.
kind.
Yeah. So
It's shaped like this.
for us, for Doghouse Rules, it started with Trailer Park Shark Attack, which is Carl Kiesler's brainchild.
And I do want to circle back around to that because
Yeah, we need to know
how
more
can you
about
hear
that title.
that? And
Yeah.
but
Oh,
anyway,
So a funnel game where I'll let Carl elaborate, but a game where characters are dropping through the funnel. Your character, you're going to pick a character, you're going to play that character until that character dies, and then you're going to pick another character. That's my simple way to explain it. Carl, you want to elaborate, or do you have a?
Yeah, I got the idea from playing a Dungeon Crawl Classic game, and they have what they call Classic Funnel game, where if I remember right, you start with a bunch of like low level PCs, and eventually they're all dying except for one dude, and that's the guy that's going to level up and keep going. You know, that's the one you're left with. He's the hero or she's the hero, and that's the one that keeps going. So in Trailer Park Shark Attack, I had the idea of, well, this is Savage Worlds. What if we had a stack of 24 characters? And you pull one at random. So you start the game, you pull a character. When that character dies, you just pull the next one because the trailer park is flooded. Your people are swimming around everywhere. Let's just keep the game going. So you can pop in at any time. So
wow, interesting. Such a different vibe. And you're only playing one at a time, or you have multiples?
Yeah. You play one. Yeah, when that one dies, you just pull the next one off the top of the stack and just keep going. Oh, look who just jumped, near our boat.
Yeah.
Oh, Granny's coming over.
Yeah, and
Machete?
Come on, Granny Machete.
Yeah, exactly.
I've both played in and run Trailer Park Shark Attack, and if you do it right, it is bedlam. It is ridiculous.
That sounds great.
Yeah, and just as a quick aside, I think I got in good with these guys because I was running Trailer Park Shark Attack, and I had a table of like 8 or 9 players. And I said, I got to get some of these people out of here. So I just, right off the cuff, I just said, all right, anytime you roll a crit fail, you die. You must think of a spectacular way that you die. And then if it's spectacular enough, I'll give you a Benny for it, draw another player. So we called it the critical death rule. When I told Carl about it, he was just like, dude, that belongs in the game. So now it's in the latest version of Trailer Park Shark Attack, and it's in Camp Terror.
How
in
cool
Savage
is that?
Worlds.
Yeah. But I mean, it's also great when, not only when creators are open enough to people playing their games to take on, oh, that was a great way that happened. I want to incorporate that. There's a humility that comes along with great creators to be able to allow that type of stuff. But also to have a game that is sort of lends itself to new ideas like that. Look at this.
That's awesome.
Isn't Carl awesome?
That's our latest.
Sharkano.
Sharkano.
Sarcano, yeah.
That's a new adventure. Our newest
Magma
adventure for Trailer
sharks.
Park. Yeah.
Fire
Blistering
spewing sharks.
shark scenario for Trailer Park Shark Attack. I love it.
That's so fun.
I can't wait for Sharkomet.
What is that?
That's what the comets.
Oh, I thought you were
of sharks.
I got it.
portmanteauing
Just like
shark and
barreling
vomit.
down to Earth, and then
Sharkquake.
Shark
Yeah.
invasion.
Yeah.
There's a whole spin-off potential. I would love to hear a little bit about your Kickstarter project that is ongoing, or you said just recently funded, Dust Bunnies.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I'll let Chris talk about that. That's
Okay.
his baby.
So Dust Bunnies, we did our first ever Kickstarter. So again, we've been publishing role-playing game products for going on 20 years, but we had never done a Kickstarter. It just wasn't our thing. But in this particular project, we wanted to do a bunch of stuff at once, and our usual model is we would do a book. If we make some money, we invest that money in the next book, but we had a number of ideas, so we decided to do a Kickstarter so we could see if we could fund the stuff all at once. And we did. It was funded 2 weeks ago tonight.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so the idea was to do a game that could be played with the whole family. You could play with your kids, and that is a big part of the game. Not only kids. I mean, you can play with your peers. We've play tested it with a couple of groups of adults already, and it works fine that way. We've also play tested with some kids, and we have another one coming up where we're doing a play test with a family, mother, father, and 2 kids.
Nice.
So we wanted to have a game that, I'll put it bluntly, wasn't about killing things and taking their stuff, which is what most role-playing games are about in some way or another. Not all, but most. And we play those games, so I'm not bad-mouthing that. I'm just saying we wanted to do something different, at least I did. And something that could be played with the family. So I started thinking about it and drew inspiration from some things, including a show, I think it was originally a Canadian show, but was on public broadcasting in the States, Big Comfy Couch.
Oh, yeah.
And
Big
so,
Comfy Couch.
I know.
Is that not a common thing in the States?
Well, it is for me. Again, I used to work at a public broadcasting station, and we aired that show, and we fundraised around it and everything, and it was big fun. And the dust bunnies are a part of that shed. Dust bunnies were creatures that lived
Oh, yeah.
under Lunette's couch, and it's always kind of been in the back of my mind. So when I was thinking about something to do with the family, I was thinking, well, what if you played a dust bunny? What if you played a little ball of fur, lint, dust, whatever it might be? And dust bunnies are mischievous creatures, so they like to make mischief around the house. The entire setting is inside a biped's house, a human's house. But you're playing the dust bunnies, and they're not into fighting. We substituted a skill called defense for fighting, and so they do defend themselves. And we use all the Savage Worlds combat rules and everything. Dust bunnies simply don't attack. They play tricks and they do mischief, and so we use the Savage Worlds rules to make that game possible.
Wow,
And,
what a fun sounding game. And this succeeded, obviously, so a huge round of applause. What a great idea. And you have a ton of, it looks like there's some writers coming in as well. I recognize
yes.
one named David Anderson Jr. is working on this book.
David Anderson, yeah. So we have several products involved in it. We have a coloring book that you can get with it as well, so you can color it. And Carl does amazing work with the art, but we also have a freelance artist, Manuel Magalhaes. I'm sure I always say his last name wrong, but he's brilliant, and he does the Dust Bunny original illustrations, and then Carl does the coloring and backgrounds and formats them all for the game. So you saw some of that on the cover that was up there a second ago, and we put that. That's again. Dust bunnies are friendly creatures. They like to give big hugs. That's one of the powers in the game is big hugs.
Look at them holding
so
onto the
cool.
penny.
I love that. What a great
That's
idea.
great.
I mean, as a we're parents of a 5-year-old, and we're always looking for sort of ways to incorporate that. And I backed a game years ago now, No Thank You Evil, which was Monty Cook.
Yeah, we've played that with him.
Which is fine. It definitely has some interesting stuff in it that's good for kids, and I'm not trying to bash Monty Cook or anything like that, but I think what it misses is what it sounds like this has, where it's a system that's already familiar and comfortable and fun to play in and of its own right, so that the parents maybe know how to play Savage Worlds, and then they have this new option of playing a system that they already love and getting to tell a new story. Whereas I found myself, and we've been role-playing for years, but I found myself reading through this book and having to learn essentially a new system, but like a distilled down version of their cipher system. It kind of made it more cumbersome to be like, oh, I got to learn a whole new system to tell this kind of very simple story. So I love the idea of taking something familiar and comfortable that we all really enjoy playing, and then just making it feel like you can run this for your kids or for your friends and get to tell a light story without feeling like you have to dive into a whole new overwhelming stack of rules and stuff like that.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head there, because that's exactly why we chose to do it in Savage Worlds. So go ahead.
And how hard is it to teach the Savage Worlds core rule, right? I mean, the elevator pitch for Savage Worlds: roll a 4, done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, roll a 4, that's it.
It's a quick elevator, let me tell you.
Yeah, man, you're going one floor. That's it. That's the brilliance behind it. Just roll a 4. Yeah, all right.
That's fantastic. So
Chris has. I just want to say, Chris had some fantastic stuff in the book about playing with your kids too. So there's a lot of cool hints and tips and stuff like that.
I love stuff like that. I think it's so valuable to have. Especially, I mean, not in my case, obviously, because we play, imagination games with them all the time. But for a lot of parents who maybe don't know how they want to do the kind of thing of sharing a hobby, I think it's really important to have sort of tips to how to make it still fun. Otherwise you just end up making your child hate it.
And I've said it in many different ways over however many times I've said it, but it's so important to have an opportunity to share learning experiences with your kids that aren't just like, hey, here's your homework, or go to school and they'll teach you the things. Like, they can learn how to read on the character sheet. They can learn math with dice, and learn empathy and sharing and all kinds of things through RPGs. So I think that designing a game for children of all ages can really help teach them some very important life skills.
Absolutely.
So
I
great
love
job
that.
with that.
Especially a game that at its core you're playing a different thing. Again, No Thank You Evil. You're like, you start in your bed. You are very much meant to be yourself, and then you imagine. And it's kind of nice to have a game that redefines that. But no, regardless, all I mean to say is it's a brilliant thing. How can people support now that it's finished? Is there a way, if someone missed the boat, is there a link that they can continue to pledge? Is there a way that they just have to wait? How's the...
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, that just came up. One of our backers just recently asked if there was a way to upgrade, and this is our first ever Kickstarter, so we were just doing a one-shot thing. We'd use the basic tools, and that was it. When it's done, it's done. But we are publishing everything, and we're doing all the fulfillment through Drive-Thru RPG, and the products will be there, so you could buy them later. We're supposed to be and plan to be and will be delivering in November of this year. So it's not that far away.
Stay tuned till November.
So here's what we'll say. We'll say make sure to bookmark doghouserules.net and check back there in November or every once in a while.
Every day, if you like.
Every day. Make it your home screen.
And then see what's new.
Check out what's new. But, and I'm sure we'll see an update there to say you can now, back after.
We'll definitely do that. Yep. Yeah, we'll definitely. I'm going to share one quick image here that I really like.
Please
while we're
do.
talking. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Speaking of what's new,
Oh, yeah.
I would really love to hear if there's anything else percolating in those brains of yours. And goes out to all three of you. Obviously, you're going to be busy fulfilling this lovely game that we're very excited about. But what's next? Can you speak about any of your new brain children or?
Yeah, I mean, we're presenting a group here, obviously, that is covering, slasher films, dust bunnies,
Westerns.
sharks attacking, trailer parks and westerns, which to me and to every person watching says, oh, wow, I can't wait for what comes next, because these are people that aren't, necessarily bogged down into one genre. So
we're all over the place, that's for sure.
Yeah, we are.
But
In a
that's
good
the best
way.
way to be honest. I mean, the nature of role-playing games is that pulling a sheet out and having a new character every time. So why not have systems that sort of support that? And, you get to scratch that itch more. But yeah, so what's on the back burner? Something bubbling away?
Chris, you go ahead.
Secrets?
Well, the first thing I thought about is something that's really Carl's idea, and it's branching off from Trailer Park Shark Attack, which is one of our most popular and favorite games. So I'm going to let Carl talk about that. He knows what I'm talking about.
So before I was into Savage Worlds, I was into a game called Dread. It's a horror game,
Oh, yeah.
role-playing game with the Jenga tower.
So
Fuck
fun.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so I ran that a lot. I mean, I would go to conventions at home just constantly. So I still love that game. I had an idea recently. I was going on a family trip, and my family's not role players, but they wanted to play a game one of these games that I'd make. I'm like, okay,
So sorry for your loss.
yeah.
I love that
when
when a family that's not familiar with the concept of role-playing games just wants to support you and kind of understand what you're doing. And
Show
they're
us one of your things.
we'll play one of your game things that you do.
Yeah, exactly. So Savage Worlds, it's light, but it's still a little crunchy for people who have never picked up a die before at all, and all that stuff. And so I came up with the idea of what if I ran Trailer Park Shark Attack using Dread rules with the Jenga tower.
Cool.
And so I simplified it down, and I made characters of all the 24 characters, and I made some rules up that, doing this costs 1 pull, doing this costs 2 pulls off the tower, and so forth. And if the tower collapses, you have to pull another character and jump right back into the mix. So I made this game, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. It'd be cool to publish it. So I went out on a limb, and I got in contact with Ebediah Ravachol, the guy who created Dread. Well, one of the guys. There's 2 of them.
Yeah.
And Tilting Windmills, and he was like, yeah, sure, that's great, that's awesome, go ahead, go for it. So we might be coming out with that. I'm pretty sure we will be. So
Cool.
He gave us his blessing, and I pretty much have everything written and laid out, and
That's an exciting prospect. I mean,
Yeah.
God, it's so interesting because I think because Dread does that so well, that mechanic, we instinctively add it to this like serious, death, everything is really dark and sort of grisly, and then
Tense.
but the juxtaposition of throwing that against something that is horror but also feels so frivolous and fun
Right.
would be such a blast. You're gonna have people cheering when the tower falls rather
Especially
than being, which
for
is such a great.
new people, right? The mechanic is new, and then
exactly.
also the fact that you have 24 characters that you can play, it feels a little bit less consequential to like,
In a good
oh,
way.
I'm
You know what I
dead.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. in
I'm
a good
leaving.
way.
Fine.
Yeah, my
Thanks for-
family had a fantastic time at it. I had
Great.
I had people that were like in their 70s playing this game, and they were just
Wow,
like having
that's
a great
the goal.
time, pulling
So
from
what
the
is this?
tower.
An RPG?
Yeah.
Sure, Grandma. Kind of. I guess. I don't know.
It was awesome.
That's awesome, though.
David, Chris, did you guys have anything that you want to
Yeah, that you just percolate.
give us a hint about what
We
you're...
also know that that Doghouse will be producing some content for some official PEG settings in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to talk a little bit about that?
I mean, that's the one that I was going to mention too. We could talk about that. That's still in its infancy. We are definitely going to do it. We had some conversations with the folks at Pinnacle.
Yeah.
And so we have a game that we're going to pitch that's similar to some of our other like convention style games that we were talking about earlier. And it's a game that Carl has run at a convention, so it's stemming from that same well. And our working title is Midnight at Manitou Hill. And it's another Weird West horror influenced game. And Carl, if you want to speak about it just a little bit without giving too much away.
Yeah, without giving too much away, it's definitely going to be for Deadlands, which is super cool that Shane's letting us play in his playground and use
Very
the
cool.
official settings. That is freaking amazing to me. And of course, it had to be Deadlands. It's my favorite. Next to ETU. ETU is like number 2. But yeah, we're going to extend it a little bit rather than just a 4-hour game. He wanted something maybe for a night or two of play, something that's more than a one sheet, the one sheet adventures I have, something more fleshed out and stuff like that. So without giving so much away, but that's pretty much the gist of it. I just can't wait till we get back into that because Dust Bunnies has taken over a little bit right now. We're trying
Rightfully
to
so.
fulfill that.
I mean, but that's always a good thing. Anyone watching will want to know that you're hard at work fulfilling Dust Bunnies and stuff like that. We've tangled with that before. We want to make anyone
we
watching
definitely
Dust
are.
Bunnies has been worked on. It's good.
Yeah,
It definitely is.
Yeah.
But again, we're not focusing solely on that, and that's why those things are in the works. And
Of course.
Carl, would it be okay if I showed a couple of the character cards for the Tumbling Tower version?
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Is there any problem with that?
No, not at all.
All right.
It's still work in
Furiously typing
progress.
in the private chat. Do not
How
share
dare
that.
you.
I can't
Yeah,
publicly
are
agree to
you
this.
kidding me? What are you doing?
This is still work in progress. So
Oh wow.
these are the
Fun.
simplified character cards that I made.
Wow, sharks. I love sharks.
So if you play Trail Park Shark Attack, you'll recognize these characters are right from that. The quotes and everything are from TPSA, but of course I simplified the rules for a very simple Dread Jenga Tower game. You got your good stuff, bad stuff, and your stuff.
I
That's
love
so
that.
good.
So
That's fantastic. The
yeah.
art is so good.
Stuff.
Really. What an exciting concept. That sounds so fun.
Cool.
Oh, there's the Manitou Hill.
So that's the original con
That's what you
game.
ran, yeah.
Yeah, and we're just extending that. We're going to change it up just a bit and make it a longer game and a little bit more intrigue because 4 hours is quick, but we want
Really
something
quick.
a little bit longer. Yeah, we want something a little bit longer.
Yep.
But David, you said you are a writer, you have experience with this. What are you also, I mean, obviously, even maybe more so than Dust Bunnies, your head right now is barreling towards this, because you guys are still playtesting the 80s slasher, right? So, but
Well,
is there something else that you're also...
Yeah, the 80s, got to be honest, Camp Terror is pretty much, the writing's done on it. It's in Carl's capable hands now. So, as soon as the art's done, it'll be there. First, I want to say I'm excited for Manitou Hill because I know I'm a playtester. That's
Yeah,
right.
Dibs.
So
Lucky.
I'm thrilled
inner
about
track.
that, man. Oh yeah. I've already got an idea in mind. I've got an idea. What I'm really hoping to do is to continue my relationship with Doghouse Rules. If Camp Terror goes well, I've got an idea for a follow-up for Camp Terror already called Camp Terror Dreamscape. You can figure out which kind of slasher that would be all by yourself.
Nice.
I've got an idea for that I've run by Carl once already for a Trailer Park Shark Attack expansion that we'll talk about. Nothing's been said. It's just been an idea. And I've been working on a mini supers setting for Savage Worlds using the Superpowers companion.
Cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've just been and the way I want to do it is I want to do it the way that they did the original Necessary Evil, which is in one book will be the setting, the plot point, the Savage Tales in one small book. And it'll be just like your quick 6-month campaign, get in, get out, have fun, move on to the next thing. Because I'm a big fan of mini campaigns. I like telling a story and then getting out and moving on to the next story.
Hey, and that's totally fair. I mean, honestly, the days of like long drawn
The 20-year
campaigns.
campaign, yeah. And I might, I'm hoping that I can write an adventure or two for my buddy Eric's Boomstick game. Because Boomstick rules. Just throwing that out there to everybody. Boomstick is amazing. Yeah, he's the guy who wrote Wise Guys. Boomstick is, I don't want to give anything away for Boomstick. He released a quick start for you guys to check out, but that's his baby. That's for him to tout. But I'm hoping he's going to let me play in that sandbox a little bit too. I was part of the 1.5-year play test for that. And awesome. It was fun. It was 7th grade humor.
Eric's a friend of Doghouse Rules too, and he gave us a lot of good advice for our Kickstarter, and he's writing one of the one sheets like David is for
I saw
Dust
that.
Bunnies.
Yeah, that's another thing I got to write is I got to write that one sheet. I had the idea.
You're gonna be busy.
A little bit. I got to actually write to be busy, Joe.
We did get one of the one sheets back already.
Did you really?
Yeah, Daryl Hayhurst.
Oh, it's amazing. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Oh, great.
Now you got a bar to
follow
clear.
Daryl.
Yeah, he set the bar
high.
really high.
That's
And he
awesome.
did it in like 2 days. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I don't even
Clock's
have an
ticking.
idea yet. Yeah.
So you know, as we've been going through this all summer long and interviewing people and talking and getting to know members of the Savage Worlds community and the RPG community in general, we always like to sort of wind down by asking, in general, what each of you are sort of just excited about right now. And this can be anything. We've had people talking about the last great book they read, the TV show they're enjoying, the last movie they saw, the next project they're working
The
on.
very obscure YouTube channel that they're obsessed with.
Kind of just an opportunity to promote good shit that you like, whether it be a friend's project like you already just mentioned, or just something that you find yourself falling asleep to every time. So, Chris, what are you enjoying right now? What do you want more people to have their eyes on? What's just something that's exciting you in general?
That's an interesting question. I mean, so what comes to mind immediately for me is what I've been doing the last 2 days, and that's listening to every Flaming Lips album.
Oh, yeah. Jamie?
I from the library, believe it or not, I rented a DVD, which was a documentary about them. And that just got me. I said, hey, I got to listen to all this stuff again. I listened to it anyway, but I've been going straight through all 16 albums.
Good pull.
Oh, so good. I'm a big fan of Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots.
Awesome.
Fantastic album.
So that's
great.
my one thing right now.
How's
Killer.
that? Great
Really good.
wreck. Didn't they also do a mashup with a writer? One of their later albums. I remember hearing it. It was the same guy who Ben Folds. The guy who wrote the movie with John Cusack, High Fidelity. The guy who wrote High Fidelity. What's his name? Author.
And the Flaming Lips?
No, I thought there was a weird mashup that he had.
That is a hugely underrated movie, by the way.
That's a
High
great movie.
Fidelity.
Yeah.
When Jack Black sings at the end.
I always
Bones.
laugh at the Evil Dead 2 conversation that happens in it. He's like,
Yeah.
if I told you I hadn't seen Evil Dead 2 yet, would you think that I was going to see it? And he's like,
Isn't
well,
that
no.
the
And he's like
movie?
trying to relate it to
Yeah.
Nicholas
That's the movie
Hornby.
where
That's good.
he's doing his album collection autobiographically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, based on where he's done it. Nicholas Hornby is the author. I thought he was doing something with the Flaming Lips. Nick
I'll have to
Hornby.
look that up. That doesn't ring a bell, but that doesn't mean it's wrong.
Yeah, inspired by I know Nick Hornby because obviously High Fidelity he wrote it. He's like a huge music fan. Like he's huge into all of these stuff. I thought there was a mashup. I could be totally wrong. I know he did a mashup with Ben Folds as well. But anyway, great recommendation. Listen
Yeah.
to more Flaming Lips. David, what do you want to share with the world?
Right now, I've been going back through all the old issues of Fables, the DC comic,
Nice.
because I'm winding up to start running a City of Mist game, and you know, maybe my superhero setting will be a little something like that. Because I love Fables, so I'm going back and I'm reading through that, and I'm wondering why they made Sandman and not Fables. I know it's a different thing, but Fables is so good.
Did you ever play The Wolf Among Us?
No, I've never even heard of The Wolf Among Us. Harlan, do you run it online? I'm all in. buddy.
No. Wolf Among Us is a so Telltale is a video game company, and they've done like The Walking Dead and stuff. The Wolf Among Us is a video game, like a choose your own adventure Telltale video game set, I'm pretty sure, in the Fables universe. You play it's fantastic for its own thing, which is playing in that world. If you like that world, I highly recommend this. Look,
Yeah, I love the urban fantasy thing. I read every Dresden novel. Just that's really. There's two things I love the most. It's that, and I love retro sci-fi. Give me some Flash Gordon. Give me some Buck Rogers. Oh,
we had
man.
someone on the other week that was showing art with their RPG that was very much like that like retro futuristic art for RPG. It was so cool.
I dig. I'm the guy that watches Mystery Science Theater 3000, and I
Nice.
enjoy the movie.
Unironically, yeah. You're like,
Completely unironically.
these guys shut up. I
Those
want
guys
to hear
need to
what's
shut up in
happening.
front.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me Manos, the Hands
in
of Fate
front.
every day, man.
That's awesome. That's great. But yeah, you need to check out The Wolf Among Us. It's on it's on Steam, and I don't know if you play games, but you should check it out because it's a wonderful game set in that universe if you like that universe. But
right, thank you,
great.
buddy. I'll
comic
do
book
that.
series.
Yeah.
Carl, what do you got for us? Share. We got some
All
good
right.
recommendations so far.
So I listen to a podcast. I love movies, horror movies, sci-fi, whatever. There's a podcast I listen to called The Best Movies Never Made. And
Yeah.
it's two screenwriters that talk about movies that either that were never made. Either they went into production, maybe there was a treatment done for them, or they went all the way up to possibly filming and the plug was pulled for some reason. But they talk about stuff like Freddy versus Jason versus Ash was a movie that was going to come out.
I remember
talk
when they were talking about that, and
Yeah.
I remember being like, "Oh my god, that would be the best thing ever." You know?
Yeah. So they talked to the actual makers of these movies that actually worked on these things. So you
that's
get the
cool.
inside scoop on what went down and why it stopped and stuff like that. Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian is another one they talk about.
Gladiator 2.
Yeah.
Gladiator 2 is like
Yeah.
the coolest and well, one of those cool movies never made.
Yeah.
Like time traveling and all that kind of stuff.
Big Trouble in Little China 2 is another
I'm
one they talk about.
subscribing.
Oh,
yeah.
yes, there you go, right down.
Podcast. But the best one I like is it was called Batman Meets Godzilla, and they were going to do that in 1966. They were actually going to team up with Toho Studios and actually do an official Godzilla movie that Adam West Batman shows up in Japan.
The world
and
would be different.
I know. I mean, like, what happened? I feel robbed after listening to this. I'm like, are you kidding me?
It's interesting though the amount of times that you do hear one of those weird movies and you go, "Oh, that would have been so good." Like
Yeah.
when they did, there's Aliens. Before they went with Resurrection or whatever the Joss Whedon written one was, there was like an alternate version, and then they were thinking about rewriting the timeline, and then they just scrap it. Honestly, I get sad sometimes because you hear this movie but then you know what I think? Every time I go, "Oh, why didn't that work the way it does?" I go,
Yeah.
"But you know what? We got the Lord of the Rings." Because the Lord of the Rings
Can't complain.
is like the best example in my mind. Is it perfect to the books? No. But it is so damn good for what it is. It takes it seriously. The acting is stellar. The soundtrack is killer. You just have to look at the fact that the Lord of the Rings works. And in some alternate dimension, it didn't. And it ended up being terrible. And it was
Yeah, it was The
garbage, and
Hobbit.
everyone hates it. Yeah. So I'm happy that we landed in the dimension that
We
Lord of the
got
Rings
it.
fucking killed.
We got to
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
it.
I'll take it.
Yeah, we
That's
get
all
to
I
keep
need.
it forever.
We get to
Exactly.
watch it once a year, the
Yeah,
extended
we get
edition.
the last 3 Star Wars movies too. So you
Yeah, we
take
don't
the
pretend.
good with the bad.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. We pretend that doesn't exist. And who knows? Maybe we'll redo that in a little bit. But
Throw that into Mount Doom.
yeah, bullshit movies and
I'd walk for 40 days to do that.
suck it down.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Perfect. So one last time, let's go through everyone and talk. You say your name, how people can follow you, and
social media.
what company you're representing. Obviously, we're a little bit double, but Chris, start us off.
Yeah, so I'm Chris Warner, Doghouse Rules. You can't find me. I'm really good at hiding.
Good. That's all we want. So if anyone needs to hunt you, they'll have a tough time. David.
I'm David Anderson. You also can't find me because when the pandemic started, everybody went batshit crazy, and I unsubscribed from every social media on the planet.
Valid, justified, and frankly, probably the smart move.
Yeah, I'm better for it.
Carl, what about you?
So Carl Kiesler, Doghouse Rules. I'm all over social media. So you
Yeah.
can find me. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I have MeWe. I'm on that thing. Discord. I'm on all kinds of stuff. So
That's amazing.
I'm out there. Just look for me.
You
Say
make
hi.
up for everyone else. Now.
Exactly.
Doghouserules.net. And of course, my name is always Mr. Harlan Guthrie. You can find me a number of different ways. You can follow me at the Leary Valley. Also, I have an audio drama on the Rusty Quill network of podcasts. If you like horror podcasts, check out Malevolent. It has just surpassed about 500,000 listens. And it's actually nominated for a Canadian Podcast Award for Best Fiction this year. And I'm going to be at Fan Expo this weekend promoting it. So if you're going to be at Fan Expo in Toronto, come by, say hi. I'll be at the booth Friday from 11 till 10. No, sorry, 11 till 12 because time moves forward.
Not backward.
And
I am Joe Guthrie. I am the DM and host of Dice Shame Podcast, which is Rusty Quill's newest AP product. We just passed 150 episodes, so we are entering our season 2 on the show. And I will also be at Fan Expo this weekend with Harlan. So if you are there, come find us, come say hello. We have 2 social events happening. So if you want to have a beer with us, we would love that.
oh, and there
We're
you
very
go.
friendly.
Also, James,
Ooh.
who's joined us before, September 15th, 7:30. You can check out them. They'll be streaming We Be Savage Goblins, which you emailed us about joining, and I'll get back to you. I apologize, James. I saw it today. That is it from us. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us. Chris, David, Carl, wonderful to meet you. Thank you to everybody who watched. Have a